changing things up on this example a little bit. They're telling us they want the equation of a circle with a specific diameter that has these two endpoints. Now with the diameter, we don't know the center, and we don't know the radius. We know that a diameter, if you have not had geometry yet, or maybe, I don't know when you guys learned this, the diameter goes from one side to the other and definitely goes through the center. So basically, the center of the circle will be this guy's midpoint, and then if I find this distance and take half of it, or if I find the distance from the center that I find to the endpoint, either of those things are going to get me the radius. But I definitely need to figure out that center and that radius. So let's start with the easier of the two things. The center is the midpoint of this segment that has those endpoints. You might remember my discussion earlier. To find a midpoint, I'm basically thinking about averaging these x values and averaging these y values. Instead of trying to memorize a new formula, for midpoint, I'm just going to take the average of this and the average of that, and that'll be like the quote-unquote average point of the segment. So the center is going to be at what I get when I add these together and divide by 2. So negative 6 plus 2 is negative 4. Divided by 2 is negative 2. The x value would be negative 2. And then the y value is going to be, let's see, 1 plus 1 is 2, divided by 2 is 1, yeah. So we're going to our y value is going to stay the same. This clearly is not drawn to scale with this at all. I'm just kind of illustrating that if you have a diameter, the midpoint would be the center. So that's our center. And now to find the radius, it's usually better to use given information. So I'm actually going to go ahead and find the distance between these 2 points, and then I'm going to take half of that. I will say that because these have the same y value, it's I can pretty much look at this and know that the distance is going to be, I think it's going to be 8. I'm positive it's going to be 8. But let's go ahead and apply the distance formula anyways, just to see how that plays out. So the distance is supposed to be the square root of the difference of these x values squared. So these x values happen to be 8 apart. So I'm not going to bother writing negative 6 minus 2. I just know that I want the distance between these x values, and I can picture these on a number line almost and know they're going to be 8 apart. If you're not understanding what I'm saying there, then go ahead and do the calculation of negative 6 minus 2, or 2 minus negative 6, however you want to do it. But those are definitely 8 apart, and so that's going to be 8 squared, plus these 2 points are 0 apart. They're not, they're not apart at all. The distance between them is 0, or I could do 1 minus 1 squared, however you want to do it, but it's going to be 0 squared. So we end up getting the distance between the 2 points is the square root of 64, or straight up 8. I just had to keep in mind that that is not only the distance, but that's also the diameter. So my radius is going to equal half of the diameter, which is 4. So with the radius, knowing the radius is 4 and knowing that the center is negative 2, 1, I can say my equation is going to have this form where something squared plus something squared equals radius squared. That radius is 16. And I want this to be x plus 2, because I want to make sure that this makes that thing 0. Like when I plug in negative 2, it should make this 0. And when I plug in 1, it should make this 0. So this needs to be y minus 1. Or looking at it another way, I can see that this is a circle that's shifted 2 left and 1 up. So I want to make sure I write an equation that's shifted 2 left and up 1. However you want to look at it, there's definitely some nuances in here, but as you do a couple of these, you'll get the hang of when to flip things and when not, and that kind of stuff. So just look at it, try a couple. As you get them wrong, correct yourself, and they're just going to get better and better until you're used to it. So good luck with these.